y'all, what's happening, everybody? How you doing? How you doing this morning? So glad y'all are just watching me in the background. Just getting things moving here. I am moving into just going manual mode on Instagram here because we had a little bit of trouble. But give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Let's switch and swap and get the people on Instagram moving here. All right, here we go. Hey, y'all, welcome to the Monday Mindset Movement. I'm your man, Robert Kennedy III, RK3. That's me. Welcome to another episode of the show where we take about 15 minutes or 20 minutes to elevate, motivate, and inspirate you. We want to get you rocking and rolling going throughout your week here. So let's jump on in. Today, we are talking about resilience. And my question for you all is this. Are some people more mentally tough than others? Do some people just have this resilience muscle built in? Or maybe some people don't have feelings or so that they don't get hurt. What is it? What do you do when life throws you a curveball? How do you hit it out of the park? Oral 4879, good to see you this morning. Lachelle Atkins, good to see you this morning. Listen, y'all, we're getting ready to get started with the Monday Mindset Movement. Here we go. Yeah, we're so glad that you're here this morning. For those of you that are on Instagram, do me a favor, just hang out with us. You're not getting the full experience this morning because we had a couple of errors, but that's okay. We're talking about resilience this morning. What do you do when life throws you a curveball? Lachelle says, I'm used to curveballs with 15 kids. Wow. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Listen, y'all, I just got off a live with my friend Ramon Ray from thezoneofgenius.com. If you're not connected with him, get connected with him. But he was talking about networks and how to set goals and how to get connected with your greater picture. And we're going to talk about that picture this morning. All right, let's see who's in the house. Merwat, good to see you this morning. Froze, good to see you this morning. Lachelle, good to see you this morning. Jennifer, good to see you this morning. Johnson, good to see you this morning. Perkins, good to see you this morning. So glad that you're here this morning. Jennifer, another Jennifer, good to see you this morning. All right, Edlin, good to see you. Edwin, good to see you. We got some rhymes in the names this morning. So glad that y'all are here for a Monday Mindset Movement. Do me a favor, if you want to know when we're going live, text GO LIVE, one word, GOLIVE. I made it up. Text GO LIVE to 240-55-STORY. That's text GO LIVE to 240-557-8679. I forgot the number for just a moment. All right. If you want to know, if you want to get this session live, just go to MondayMindsetMovement.com and join us in our Facebook group, our Facebook community there as well. Lastly, for the real estate agents in the room, do me a favor. We are doing something called the Video Story Bootcamp Beta. If you're interested in learning more about how to get confident on camera, how to go live, and how to get leads utilizing your video, we are going to be doing something called the Video Story Bootcamp, and we're getting started with that really soon. You can go to rk3live.com/VSB beta to sign up. All right. Go to rk3live.com/VSB beta to sign up. So here's the deal. What are we talking about today? We're talking about this word called resilience. Money Managed, good to see you. Nathalie Gregg, good to see you. Melvin MEBJ, good to see you. Melvin Bryant, good to see you, buddy. Glad that you're here this morning. Fifi, to you too, good to see you this morning. So glad that y'all are here. Yeah, so what do you do when life changes up on you? What do you do when life throws you a curveball? So when I think about resilience. When I think about the word resilience, I think about the story of Harlan Sanders. For those of you who have never heard the name before, I'm sure you've heard the name Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC, right? Harlan Sanders is Colonel Sanders, the guy with the white suit and the beard and the bow tie, right? That he is the icon of or the brand, or you may even want to say the mascot for KFC. He was the founder of KFC, and I won't go into his entire story, but I want to share this piece of it. Harlan Sanders was a businessman. He was a failed businessman, and he came upon this recipe for frying chicken. Hanging out at a backyard barbecue and said, listen, I'm going to make y'all my favorite chicken, my special chicken. And he came up with this recipe. And all of a sudden, people were like, oh, my gosh, that is fantastic. And they said, you should sell this. And he said, OK, I'm going to sell it. And he took his recipe and he started to pitch his recipe to some different restaurants. He wanted them to sell it so that he could get a little bit more or mass produce it. And he was told no by the first restaurant that he went to. And then he went to a second restaurant. Basic, glad that you're here. He went to a second restaurant and they told him no. And he went to a third restaurant and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and a 10th and a 20th and a 50th and a 100th restaurant. And they told him no. They told him no. Right? They told him, no, we're not going to do this, or we're not going to pay for this recipe. As a matter of fact, Harlan Sanders was told no more than 1,000 times. Let me ask y'all something. If you were trying to date somebody and they told you no 1,000 times, would you continue trying to date that person? Leon Street, good to see you, my friend. If you were trying to get into a school or a university, if you were trying to get a job and they told you no more than 1,000 times, would you keep trying to get that job? See, that's the thing with a lot of us, and that's the lesson that we want to even start out with this morning. Maybe that's the question. When you are told no, how do you respond? What do you do? What do you do when you're told no? A lot of times when my kids ask me for something, if I say no, they ask questions. They ask why. They ask why not, or how come, and they ask, and my response is no is a complete sentence. Right? So how do you handle no, that complete sentence multiple times, 1,000 times? How do you handle that no? He got told no. Colonel Sanders got told no more than 1,000 times, and he was 62 years old before someone gave him a yes, and he was able to start his restaurant. What do you do? Natalie says, if I want it, I'm determined to prove them wrong. Yeah, let's go, Natalie. Right? What do you do? Let me share another story with you. So Colonel Sanders was the epitome of resilience. He was the epitome of mental toughness, go-get-itness, whatever you want to say, determination. Let me share with you this other story and ask you about how you would handle life. There was something, I was reading an article and it shared a story about a group of people from National Geographic. And these people live in Bangladesh, and there are about 10 million of them. And they live in these areas called charlands, right? As a matter of fact, they refer to them as the Char people. And what happens in these charlands is that there are these rivers that converge. And these rivers converge, and it's also a rainy area. And as it rains, the rivers flood. And as the rivers flood, the places where the people were living, the islands where the people were living, they become flooded, and the people that are living there have to go in search of new places to live, right? So they've got boats and they've got things that help them to move, but they live on these islands for a little while, but then they become flooded, and then they've got to find new islands to live. So let me ask you this, right? If you are someone who lives in a space, if your home that you worked hard to build kept getting flooded, how would you deal with that? What would you do with that? What would you do with that? How would you respond to that? Do you, what is it that you do? These people, they live on these islands, or they live on an island, and they raise their crops. The islands don't disappear every week, but they disappear regularly enough, at least once, twice, maybe a year, right? They raise crops, they raise their families, they raise everything that is needed, or they do everything that is needed to live a successful life. And yet, every year, there's a gentleman that was interviewed for the National Geographic article. He was about 60 years old. And almost every year over the course of his life, he moved at least once from one island to another. So how do you live in that type of circumstance? How do you live knowing that the thing that provides stability for you will be taken away from you? Right? So how they do it. Let's talk about how they do it logistically. They have these houses that are easily disassembled, right? And reassembled quickly. So when the floods are coming, they're able to pull the houses apart, go to someplace else, or just kind of hang out on their boats or whatever it is that they hang out on. And then when they find a new space, or when they find a new island that they can live on, they are able to then reassemble the homes. So they live in that way, right? But what do you do when life changes on you, when life throws you a curveball? How do you roll? How do you handle it? Do you immediately default to, OMG, why is everyone and everything against me? Why do things always happen to me? Why can't anything ever go my way? Why can't I ever catch a break? Is that your default? What do you do? Right? How did Colonel Sanders accept so many no's and keep going? How did the Char people in Bangladesh live knowing that their lives are going to be uprooted? How do you deal with this? How do you operate under these circumstances? What is your default? What's your baseline? Well, there's this one statement that I keep in the back of my mind. And this really helps me to live a resilient life. And I think it'll help you too. And here's the statement: nothing is certain except change. Nothing is certain except change. What does that mean? It means, for me, live right now and prepare for possibility. There is an author by the name of Rick Hansen. He wrote this book called Resilient. If you are on Facebook or YouTube or LinkedIn right now, it's in the description. Go ahead and click on that and grab that. But this book is called Resilient: How to Grow an Unshakable Core of Calm, Strength, and Happiness. And there's a statement in this book that I love. I love this statement. It says, if you take care of the minutes, the years will take care of themselves. And he continues and he says, what's the most important minute in life? Well, I think it's the next one. There's nothing that we can do about the past, and we have limited influence over the hours and the days to come. But the next minute, this minute that you're stepping into, is always full of possibility. So if you think about your life and you think about the curveballs and the changes that are inevitable, the things that are going to happen, right? Nobody lives and nobody gets out of this thing unscathed. Nobody lives a life that is perfect. Nobody lives a life without obstacles. So how do you deal with change? How do you deal with rejection? How do you deal with failure? How do you deal with messing up? Froze 45 says, I'll make adjustments. Yeah, right? You make adjustments. And here's the thing that I want to share with one of the big reasons why it's hard for many of us to make adjustments is because we put a lot of emotional stock into what's happening in the moment. Here's what I mean. If you look at your life in its totality, the things that happened to you, the things that you felt pain about or for, are momentary. If you think about when you are running, let's say that you're running and you happen to fall and you skin your knee. In that moment, you're like, oh my gosh, my knee is hurting me. And that pain is the only thing that you can think about. You look down and there's blood gushing from your knee. That's the only thing that you can think about. But years later, when you look back at that moment, you realize it was only a 3 to 5 minute moment over the course of your entire life. So when you think about pain, when you think about rejection, when you think about obstacles, if you think about them in context of the big picture, you realize that what the things that happen to you are probably a short chapter in the long book of your life. So as we begin to land the plane here, how do you awaken resilience? How do you awaken mental toughness? Well, I want to share 3 things with you. I want to share 3 things, and I encourage you to implement these this week. If you have not begun to do this yet, I want to encourage you to implement them over the course of the week. Number 1 thing, number 1 item, number 1 element. Envision the big picture. Plan and prepare for possibility and take care of the moment. All right? Envision the big picture. Plan and prepare for possibility and take care of your moment. My man, Myron Live. What's going on, Doc? Good to see you. Number 2, realize that you will not control everything. But you can control your attitude, your emotions, and your behavior. Stuff's going to happen. Life is going to life. You're going to hit some obstacles. Like some challenges are going to hit you. Some things are going to get in your way. Some stuff is not going to work out how you expected it to. There's some stuff that's just going to be beyond your control. But you can control your attitude, your emotions, your behavior, your response, and even your preparation for those things. And number 3, look for the good. Look for the good. We tend to overlearn from bad experiences while underlearning from good ones. Right? We tend to focus on the bad things. We tend to focus on the negative things. We tend to reinforce our fears because of negative or poor or bad or failure experiences. And we don't learn enough from the good ones. We don't take enough lessons from the good ones. It's good. I don't need to focus on it. It worked out. But there's learning, there's opportunity, even in the good times. That's why it's so important to celebrate. That's why it's so important to assess. That's why it's so important to evaluate, right? We tend to overlearn from bad experiences and underlearn from the good ones. All right. Rick Hansen in that same book, Resilient, said, look for ways that you could be overestimating threats while underestimating the resources to deal with them. Be curious. Ask questions about everything that happens in your life. Ask questions. How can you dig a little bit deeper? How can you explore the why? How can you explore the steps that it took to get here? How can you explore the building blocks or the bricks that allowed you to achieve that success or allowed you to achieve that learning moment? Right? We said a few weeks ago that word fail. That word fail is not something to be feared. Fail simply means first attempt in learning. So how can you evaluate, observe, and then do something with those failure moments? And even when you achieve success, how do you evaluate, observe, and learn from those as well? So here's the lesson. Here's the thing that I want to leave with you. I want to leave with you an action for this week. We've been talking about resilience and mental toughness today. So here's one thing that I want you to do this week. I want you to think about something that is challenging you currently. Even if it isn't challenging you right in this specific moment at this time of the day, it may begin to challenge you later on today. I want you to think about something that is challenging you in your space. It might be that you don't have enough finances. It might be that you don't have the relationship that you want. It might be that you're not educationally or career-wise at the space that you need to be. It might be that you've got a test coming up. It might be whatever it is. I want you to think about one challenge that you're about to experience or you will experience in your life. And then I want you to do this. I want you to write it down at the top of the paper. I want you to write it down at the top of a document. I want you to write it down on your iPad, your Supernote, your Remarkable. I want you to write it down at the top. And then underneath that, I want you to create a list of 5 ways that you could possibly navigate that challenge. I want you to make a list of 5 ways that you could possibly navigate that challenge. Because here's the thing, we have challenges, we know that they're going to happen. As I mentioned earlier, the only thing constant in life is change. And the thing that moves us, that slows us down, or what slows us down is that we don't often envision those possibilities and prepare for them. So how can you be intentional this week? So do that one thing for me. What is that one thing that is challenging you, that will challenge you? And I want you to create a list of 5 ways that you could possibly navigate that thing. All right, today's Monday. I want you to shift your mindset to a place of growth. Doesn't just start and stop on Monday. I encourage you to take this mindset, the things that you're hearing, the things that you're learning, the things that you're feeling, the things that you're reflecting on. I encourage you to take that Monday mindset into tomorrow and the next day and the next day. As we say every week, be curious. Make a choice. Move. Start a movement. Be a movement. Join me next week, Monday, on the Monday Mindset Movement here, 8 a.m., Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter X. Remember this, you, the person you are, gradually becomes what your attention rests on. Hey, come on, let's go. I'll see y'all next week on the Monday Mindset Movement. Peace. Instagram, thanks for joining us. Yeah, we had a little bit of trouble with Instagram feed this morning, so we went old school, so you're not hearing all the music. But yeah, glad that you joined us. Lynn Festus, glad you're here.